I want to give you an example, and it's hilarious, and it's actually happened. We were flying to Japan. We were in something like premium economy, 4 to 5 journalists and maybe some 4 or 5 other people in that entire cabin. And the lady comes and she says, "Are you Marmar?" I am. Okay. She goes back. By then, everybody realized the cabin is empty. So people moved seats. Right. So then there was a lot of coming back and saying, "Are you such and such person?" And this person would be like, "No, I'm somebody else." And they wouldn't recognize that you're somebody else because their single point agenda was to identify that person. So they'd go back to the galley, take another name, come out, and this went on. What they were trying to do is serve us meals.
Got it.
Right. So so then they came and put a sticker on my seat saying, "This is Marmar and he has a non-veg Hindu meal or whatever." And I started to move to the window because I was sitting in the aisle. And she turned around and she said, "Don't move without the sticker."
Oh.
I said, "Okay, fine." So I took the sticker with me. I moved to the window. In the meantime, other people moved around the cabin. And this went on, Karthik. For 45 minutes, they didn't serve anybody meals because they kept coming out with meals, couldn't identify the person and going back. The other 5 people were a group and they discovered that the front row was empty on that. So they all moved forward together. More confusion.
Oh.
It was at the end of the meal that one of those guys woke up and he sort of asked, saying, "What meals do you guys all have?" We all 10 of us, 9 of us, I think, all 9 of us had non-veg Hindu meals. An Indian person in that situation would look at the roster and say, "They all have non-veg Hindu meals in this cabin. Are there 9 of them? Yes, they are. Just give the meals out." Think about that. They could not organize a way for the same meal to be served by 10 people because the process says this meal has a sticker on it that says Marmar NVHML.
System oriented.
So you have to go and find this person, Marmar, and hand him this box. The fact that all 9 boxes contain the same amount of food didn't make any difference to them. And to me, that is emblematic of the problem that Japan is in right now. I was listening to the Oxley-Baum MotoGP podcast, and I know you love that podcast. I love that podcast too. And,
Thanks for introducing me to it. Yeah.
And this is exactly what Matt Oxley was saying about inadvertently Honda versus Yamaha today. They are seeing MotoGP Yamaha move forward. And Yamaha's one of the things they've done is they've gone to Europe and hired European people saying, "Okay, aerodynamics is unfamiliar to us. You guys know it. You guys do it." He's saying HRC has so much ego that they're still sitting and trying to figure this out for themselves. And it's a much slower process. So progress is visible at Yamaha quite obviously. Not that they're up to scratch yet.
Yeah.
But the progress at Honda doesn't appear to be going on at the same rate.
Right.
And if you think about it, this is a cultural problem. The reason why we wanted to discuss Japan is because there are so many levels at which what's going on is falling outside of what should happen. Most American subsidiaries of Japanese companies seem to have American CEOs. But in India, think about the CEOs, for example, right? They get on average 2 to 3 year tenures. Now think about this. This is a career Japanese executive who's basically climbing the corporate ladder. They show up in India and it is perhaps the most unfamiliar environment they've ever seen because of the chaos, because of the diversity. How do you understand this country? Especially when you're coming from a structured culture. Then you spend, 6 months, a year understanding what happens here. During this phase, what is being implemented by your company is what your predecessor left behind as the policies for this. Because remember, the Japanese don't constantly reinvent the process. They like the process. There was a quote I heard yesterday where somebody from Japan who was consulting with an Indian company basically said, in Japan, you think 2 times a year and you do the rest of the year. So there's an annual review and there's a mid-year review, and the rest of the year you work on those ideas. You don't keep reevaluating the ideas. But the Indian organization he was working for, this organization seems to rethink everything whenever they feel like. So how do you move forward?
Right.
Now, I can see the agility advantage of the Indian approach, and I can see the stability advantages of the Japanese approach. But in a market that changes rapidly and has a lot of diversity, I don't know that stability is such a great asset. Right? So this CEO has arrived. It's taken him a year. Now he's understood some parts of how India works. Or at least his advisors have given him good advice. Now he has 2 years to do something about it. But at the end of those 2 years, he's going to some other country and going to do something else.
Yeah.
Whereas Rajiv Bajaj has been at the head of Bajaj since 2001, running things as he sees fit. Good, bad or ugly is not the issue here. There's continuity there. His supply chain person, he's been there forever. His R&D people, they have been there forever too. They are long-standing stakeholders in this organization. I'm still just talking about top management. In this meantime, in let's call it 24 years, that's 8 CEOs for the average Japanese company.
Yeah.
And that's 3-year tenures, which is a long tenure. 2-year tenures are more common. How do you compete? Now, the Japanese guy comes from the other side. He comes from, this is what the process, and then comes to India and says, where is the process? It's even harder for them.
Right.
Imagine the shift that this poor CEO has to make to come to this country for 2 years.
Right.
Some of them love it. And for them, I'm super happy because I know they'll have a great time here. And we've met those Japanese people too, right? Like Ishikawa-san at Yamaha, for example. But for the guys who don't adjust, imagine the life that they have to live for those 2 years. They're waiting to go back.
Right.
To me, this is a cultural problem. How can a Japanese person who doesn't understand this country run a business for the Japanese here at all?
If you don't like opinions and opinionated people, then my recommendation is do not head to the MotorInc channel, because you're 100% going to get a clear shot at what we are thinking, and our hope is that it'll help you. So choose wisely.